Now here's the bigger question. Does Jake Paul care? Does he care that Logan Paul didn't get this huge monumental $250 million fight with the great Conor McGregor? The feud between Dana White and Jake Paul is renewed today with a new conspiracy theory. Jake Paul has gone to Twitter and he's talking about the fact that Dana put a stop to the huge fight that was supposed to happen with Logan Paul and Conor McGregor because of his dislike and hatred for Jake Paul, the problem child. And to me, this is just another dark stain on the relationship between Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I'll show you a little interaction in a minute that just came out in the last couple of days from Conor McGregor and from Jake Paul on the bus on the way to Donald Trump's inauguration, and it proves again that he is a problem child and he's a spoiled child and he's a spoiled little brat, and he really doesn't like his brother. So Dana White blocked the Conor McGregor proposed boxing exhibition against Logan Paul because of his hatred for WWE star's brother Jake, a source has told the Daily Mail. Now, whether this is trustworthy or not, it is the Daily Mail, but I always like it when there's a source involved. McGregor, who has not competed in the UFC for over 3.5 years, was recently in talks for a potential $250 million showdown with Logan Paul in Mumbai, India, later this year. Imagine the smell. That's all I'm saying. The highly anticipated event was reportedly set to involve India's billionaire Ambani family, despite their involvement never being confirmed publicly. However, Conor McGregor has revealed this week that the negotiations aren't going anywhere because the UFC refused the bout. He said that they just weren't into it. That was the end of it. So many people were speculating that this was just a tactic by the UFC to maybe get Conor McGregor back into the octagon, even though it looks like over the last 2 or 3 years, since the last fight where he had that horrific leg break, that they don't really seem interested in getting him in there. It seems like they're more interested in running down the clock on his contract, using him as a tool to get a better deal with the likes of Netflix or Amazon. But who knows? And Conor didn't have too much else to say about it, but the source for the Daily Mail says that it's because of the hatred of the problem child that Dana didn't want to push this thing through. And you can imagine that the hatred is deep rooted with these lads. Dana hates the fact that he's getting called out. He hates the fact that Jake Paul isn't part of the UFC and he can't fire him or reprimand him. And Dana hates the fact that Jake Paul keeps pointing out the absolute shambles which is the pay scale over at UFC in terms of fighter pay and all that. He hates having that conversation, and he hates enlightening the plebs, I guess, that work underneath him. And in the same breath, we have spoken about the fact that you choose this life and you can go out there and make money, and you can do whatever you have to do outside of it to promote yourself and become a huge star within the UFC. That's perfectly capable. Dana gives the lads them sort of positions to go and do what they need to do. But this deep-rooted feud between Jake Paul and Dana White doesn't seem to be going away. These two lads really dislike each other. Dana speaks about the first time that he had an interaction with Jake Paul, and he pulls the famous line that he always does where, I don't even know who the kid is. And he's talking about he's at a boxing event, I think it's like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and he's with his kid and they're trying to get seated, and Jake Paul rolls up with no shirt on, chains blinging, and starts throwing all these disses at Dana White. That's how the story goes from Dana, and right off the bat he hated him. And ever since then, as I said, the feud has gone back and forth in terms of pay scales and this, that and the other. We've even heard some like really bad diss tracks that were made by Jake Paul towards Dana White. We've seen the two lads go back and forth in terms of taking drug tests and accusing each other of all this craziness. So Jake Paul put out this tweet today. He said that Dana White didn't let Conor fight Logan because of his hatred of me. Haha. I hope this is bullshit. Can't be that petty, can he? Now you look at that and you go, okay, this opens up a load of questions just in terms of, is that what stopped this fight from coming to fruition? I think that there's a lot more at play in terms of Conor McGregor's headspace, his physicality. Recently, when a bout was scheduled for the UFC and didn't come to fruition under like weird, mysterious acts of nature, a lot of people said that Dana and his representatives had a look at the training and saw that Conor was nowhere near ready to get into an octagon. So if he doesn't think that he's ready to get into an octagon, does he think he's ready to go in and fight Logan Paul over in India with $250 million on the line, representing the UFC, still under contract, still under the banner of the UFC, to get absolutely starched by these athletic young kids? That could be a factor 100%. Or is Jake Paul 100% correct here when he says that it's because of the hatred? That's 1000% possible as well, of course. Now here's the bigger question. Does Jake Paul care? Does he care that Logan Paul didn't get this huge monumental $250 million fight with the great Conor McGregor? Biggest combat star in the world. One of the biggest stars, full stop. You think that the brothers who have this rivalry, this hatred towards each other, you think that Jake Paul, who considers himself a combat sports star himself, would like his brother to get this huge fight with Conor McGregor. He wouldn't his bollocks, because it's a mixture of both him being a narcissist, but also about taking the shine from his brother. That's probably more important than him being this combat star that he thinks he is. So he's over here on Twitter putting out the question, this can't be why this happened to my brother. This can't be the reason why he lost his big huge fight with Conor McGregor, right guys? That's not the way he thinks, because a little video that just came out from the inauguration 2 days ago shows exactly what I'm talking about. Let's have a little listen to this interaction.
Why do you want to fight him?
What, instead of you?
It's an easier fight.
Bigger names.
You know what I do to Southpaw.
Yeah,
You know.
We want you to do any Southpaw. Nate Diaz, you couldn't even put it down. Anderson Silva. Yeah, look, you've done some good things. You've done some alright things.
So Jake Paul is sitting 2 feet away from Conor McGregor, and he's almost got a quivery bottom lip at the idea of this fight actually coming to fruition. And he's saying, why do you want to fight him? And he's pointing at his brother. Why have you not chosen me? Why do you want to fight him? And of course, Logan just sits there like a little he doesn't open his mouth. And it's like, because he's an easier fight? It's like, oh my God, this guy is deluded. And he starts banging on then talking about Anderson Silva, some guy who was like 72 years old. So this interaction is extremely deluded and just mental in general. There was a lot of wide eyes and juice flying everywhere. But there's so much to that opening line from Jake Paul. Why do you want to fight him and not me? You can tell that he was being tore up inside, because this huge opportunity, more limelight, was not coming on me. It was going over to Logan. And if you really want to get conspiratorial, because that's what Jake has done today, and it's on the front of every headline, conspiracy theory from Jake Paul as to why Dana White rejected this huge monumental fight. If you really want to get conspiratorial, you think that Jake Paul liked that idea? You think that he wasn't voicing his disapproval of it in the background, or maybe even to representatives of Conor McGregor, Dana White, UFC, or even his own brother, Logan Paul? Did he sow the seeds of discontent amongst that fight? That's a conspiracy theory as well, right? So as the story goes from the Daily Mail, Dana and Jake Paul have this long-running feud. There's bitterness deep rooted there within that relationship. It doesn't matter whether this was beneficial to Conor McGregor, to Logan Paul, to the UFC, to the WWE. It doesn't matter, because that rivalry was too much to overcome it. Whilst Jake Paul acts like he's disappointed that his brother didn't get this huge fight, I reckon that he's smiling inside, and he's going to bide his time and wait till Conor is not under contract with the UFC, and then he will get the fight, because he is the chosen one. He is the problem child. He's the better fighter. And I think that that's really, really sad in terms of a brotherly relationship, but also in terms of the fandom that this guy has amounted over the years. These people are watching this guy, and it's really overt the way he goes about his business. And we saw that during the interaction with Conor McGregor. Let me know what you think of all that down below. Maybe hit like, subscribe and share, or pop over to the Patreon. Every little helps. Keep the show on the road. I really appreciate it. Cheers. I want to share my new Patreon. Any support is welcome over there. Keeps the show on the road, and I'd really appreciate it. Cheers.